I saw a video this week. How many people saw videos this week? Just checking. I just, videos are the thing. I don't remember where I saw it. That's one of those things these days. You don't remember where you see things because everything is just happening all the time. Is it on this platform or that platform? I don't know whose phone I saw it on or where. Well, I saw this funny image of like a high school basketball team where the basketball stuck. You know the way it gets stuck between the backboard and the rim? For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, there's a diamond and it has 4 bases. And, okay. There's like a backboard and there's a rim and there's this basketball that's, stuck there. And all these, these basketball players just keep trying to jump high enough to get it down. And it's almost like a contest, like they're like, what's my vertical leap? So like running and they're reaching and they hit the backboard and another one's, oh, I'll do it. And the other one comes out and then you get the big leaper to come out and no, it's too much. And then out of the corner of the screen, the cheerleaders come running out. It's great. And they just, each one of them is up to the waist, they're like little teeny. And then they create this lattice, this little ladder together. And before you know it, this 4'8" cheerleader is knocking the basketball off the rim and they get back to playing. And this thing went viral. I saw millions of people watched it. It's an amazing moment. Each one of them were trying to reach it. And it wasn't really about height. It wasn't even about vertical leap. It was about what people could do together that individually they couldn't make happen. A remarkable moment. And of course, it reminds me very much of this week's Torah portion, which is a natural Rabbi segue. Did you catch that? Of course, that video of basketball just makes me think about Torah. It's just what happens, right? It's okay. But it did, because this week's Torah portion is read every year right before Rosh Hashanah. This is the Torah portion that's read every year, and it begins, Atem Nitzavim hayom kulchem. You're gathered here together, Moshe says to the people. And then he goes on to say from, the ones who draw the water, for the ones who are cutting down the trees, they're all here, electricians and, everybody, every class, everything, we're all here together. Le'ovrecha bebrit, in order to bring you through into a covenantal relationship. And one of the great Hasidic masters, the Beis Aaron, it says, Atem nitzavim hayom kulchem, each of you are here, standing here, like it was the Elton John before there was, you're still standing. Here you are. And the Torah says, hayom, today. Which in the rabbinic tradition, to say that, it was superfluous. They knew where they were. It's today. He wasn't saying you're here tomorrow. Why do you have to tell us today? As the rabbis in the Talmud, in the rabbinic tradition, say hayom is always a reference to Rosh Hashanah. In the liturgy it says, hayom aras olam, today. The great today is the rebirth of the world, which happens every day. And so here you are today. And he quotes that midrash, and then he says, and there's another midrash that says another reason for hayom being the day, like today. Why is hayom referenced, right? Hayom. The rabbis in midrash say the way that hayom becomes dark, hayom is a day, and day is made of night and light. A day and an evening. That's hayom. He says, like the day, you're all standing here, some of you in a dark place, he said, and some of you in a light place. Some of you like the aspect of hayom of today, which is rebirth, and some of you like hayom, which is decline. Some of you have a sun setting, and some of you have a sun rising. All of you are here today, says the Beis Aaron, quoting the midrash, the early rabbinic commentary says, hayom. But atem nitzavim hayom kulchem, and then it goes on to say, kulchem, you're together. Kulchem, all of you. Not one person, not one's only with light and one's only with dark. Not the ones who are in a good season, you show up. And the ones who are in a bad season, you guys stay home. Keep your sadness to yourself. Keep your depression, keep your pessimism to yourself. No. Hayom kulchem, today all of you. Night and light. All of us together, kulchem. And then he goes on to say, and in this, I think he was quoting the Baal Shem Tov without saying it. Said each and every one of us needs the other in order to build a ladder, in order to reach heights that we can't reach alone. The one who has night needs the one who has light to lift them up, and the one who has light needs the one who has night to invite that light into their night. The story that he is, I think, paraphrasing is the Baal Shem Tov once, the founder of the Hasidic movement, Yisrael ben Eliezer, who lived, we know for sure, at least from 1700 to 1760, somewhere in the Ukraine, Carpathian Mountains. He was a shaman, he was a mystic, he was a lover of humans, and a healer. And the Baal Shem Tov once told his assistant to get the carriage together and get all the students together because he had to go somewhere, and they all got into their wagon and they went. And people in the shul know this story. I've told this story. I think I told it the first Shabbos that Romemu was together in March 25th, 2006. He said, get them in the wagon. We're going to go somewhere. We have to go somewhere. There's some work that has to be done in some field somewhere. And so they get into their wagon, and they're on their way, and they stop a couple different places. And the Baal Shem Tov does a couple of things. He picks a couple of flowers. He pours a drink for somebody, and then they wind up in a field somewhere. And the afternoon prayers, it's coming time for the afternoon prayers. And so they all get off the wagon and they walk over to a tree and they stand around the tree and they begin to pray the afternoon prayers called Mincha. And they start to daven together, and it's beautiful. And there's a light that descends, and the students can't believe it. It's unbelievable. And so they all pray. And then each of them finishes their own individual tefillah, their own individual prayer. And the Baal Shem Tov, the master, is still going. Oh, he's going. He's the energizer Rebbe. He's going. And he's going. And it's going. And the students are thinking, I don't know, we got a dinner. It's Friday night. Rabbi is droning on. It wouldn't be so bad. Maybe we'll, wander over there. So one after another, they start to break away. And they start, they leave him alone. He's going to be okay. He's under the tree. He's praying. He's in some great samadhi, satori. He's out of his mind. It's all going to be good. And they just make their way, right? And about a half hour later, after he finishes his prayers, he comes over to them and he's very quiet. And the students were worried because usually after his prayers he was very happy, but he wasn't happy. And so one of them has the chutzpah, the temerity to say to the Rebbe, what's wrong? Master, what's wrong? And so the master said, let me tell you. I was back at that tree. And do you know what that tree was? That's the Eitz HaChaim. That was the tree of life. That tree was the tree of life. And as we prayed around it, I began to ascend that tree into heaven. And I was making my way from one level in heaven to another level in heaven. And I was looking for the Messiah because I felt that the Jews were suffering so much, were being persecuted. I have to go and bring the Messiah. And I kept going higher and higher, and I kept asking people, where do I go? Where do I go? They said, go to there, go to there, go there. And I was making my way. It was a soul ascent. And I finally got to the room where they say the Messiah was, and I opened the door, and in the room there was a tree, and I started climbing the tree, and on the top of the tree there was a bird singing. And I knew that if I could grab that bird and capture it, I would bring it back, and that would free humanity from its suffering. And I was just about to grab it. I was just there. I was reaching. I just needed one more. I needed a cheerleader to come along and push me up. And all of a sudden, I began to fall. Precipitously, I began to tumble. All of a sudden, I felt everything underneath me give way, and I started to walk. I was making my way back through all of the different levels I'd been in before I arrived back here on this plane. And when I opened my eyes, I looked around, and my ladder had left. All of you, my ladder had left. And he said to them, if you had stayed, we could have brought the Messiah. It's a heavy trip. But I think the Beit Aaron was playing off that story, and he was saying that when Moses looked to the people, he said, you're all here today. Today, and like every day, has night and light. You're all here today, kulchem, all of you, to lift one another up, to be more together than you could have been alone, to reach higher than you could ever have, to knock every basketball that is stuck out of its place, because you know how to make from individuals a collective that can go much, much higher. This teaching I gave on March 25th, 2006, 17 years ago. And at the heart of this community was a plural Romemu. It wasn't Rom, go high, you individual. It was Romemu, which in Hebrew is the grammar for we. Let's, all of us together, lift higher. Let's make a ladder, and let's go higher. And in some profound way, for me personally, and I think for many of us, the selling of the building this week and in the coming weeks as it unfolds can be perceived on some level as going lower on the ladder. We're not roaming anymore, right? I think something beautiful is possible with this next phase in Romemu. I think something profoundly powerful about this community was its collective qualities. That it wasn't one chazan singing, one cantor, it wasn't one Ingber singing, one rabbi speaking. That one person started it, and then voices came from everywhere and joined. And collectively, I think some of the more beautiful moments of my entire life have been with all of you and with many others who are not here tonight. And in many ways, over the last couple of years, because of all kinds of factors, especially because of COVID and other things, the very thing that made Romemu, our people, like it was hard to find the monies and some of the things to invest back in the things that made Romemu so incredible, the music, the energy, and the lay leaders, and so many of the things that made this a very special and unique community. And so I have a strong feeling that even as, perception is highly subjective, I want to say that I think we're on the cusp of building an even greater ladder together. I feel as though this community is transitioning in many ways, and what lies ahead of us will be formed by this incredible community. The one thing I think that I'm looking forward to in particular is being lifted up and onto the shoulders of, some small cheerleader. Because if we want to be able to unstuck the things that are stuck, we need one another lifting each other together. And we need to invest in that and prioritize that and underscore that and make sure that each and every person that comes through these doors, and any for that matter, feels that they have a place in this community to lift themselves and others through their presence. That's a prayer. Would you please say amen to that? Amen. So let's rise.